the world is rigged, of course, and we have no choice but to become stronger than it, right? There is no alternative left to us. The other alternative, such as it is nihilism. The alternative is to give up and do nothing and, I don't know, just float around and hope for the best, I suppose, which is not a great strategy, okay? The world is rigged, so we are so used to people now being cynical about institutions, okay? It's become almost an institution of its own to be very skeptical about institutions. We're skeptical about governments, about politicians, about health bodies, about big pharma, about food companies, all of this stuff, right? Everybody is skeptical about everything. The mainstream media, the lamestream media. We're all skeptical of all of this stuff, right? And then you get people who are skeptical, rightly, about podcasters and the non-mainstream media, or whatever you call it, okay, the independent media. You should be skeptical of everything, of course, but it's strange, isn't it, in this environment of skepticism turned up to 10, that so many guys are not skeptical of the dating market, right? It's like, oh yeah, we can be skeptical about all of this stuff, right? Oh yeah, these conspiracies, oh, you know, they were lying to us, all the blah, 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 all this. And then when it comes to dating, they're like, oh, well, I thought it was all going to be a Disney romance. I thought it was all going to be a rom-com with Matthew McConaughey. You know, I mean, where did the skepticism go, right? Why do you not trust everything else, but then you trust this based on some stories that you heard via TV and via movies and sitcoms and things when you were a kid growing up, right? Why do you trust that, right? Why the surprise? Obviously, the game is rigged, okay? Obviously it is, because everything else is rigged, so why wouldn't that be? So, yes, the dating marketplace is more difficult than it's ever been. Yes, there are certain people who have huge advantages. No, it's not all about looks. It's not all about hitting yourself in the face with a hammer or taking meth like Mr. Clavicular in order to be better looking. It's not all about that, but I would venture it probably is somewhat about access. It probably is somewhat about status and money and power, okay? Those things do come into play, although, once again, they're not the only thing. But yeah, of course, it is rigged, and it's not rigged in your favour, sadly. I wish it was. Unless you happen to be some world famous movie star watching this, or a rapper or an NBA player, in which case welcome to the channel, but this message probably isn't for you. For most people it feels at least like it's rigged, and that's the other thing. Even if it isn't, even if you put all this aside and you say this is nonsense, what are you talking about, it's not rigged, well, okay, fine, but it feels like it is to enough of us that we feel justified in saying it is. And I think that's enough, actually. I think it's enough if it feels rigged. Because look, if it walks like a duck, if it looks like a duck, it probably is a duck, okay? If it feels that it's arranged not with you in favour, then it probably isn't, all right? I mean, you know, we're not stupid, okay? We have a gut instinct, we have insight, okay? We can feel when something's not quite right. We can feel when something's off, and it feels off to a lot of us. I think we can agree that, right? So, again, what then do you do with that information? It seems to me there are two routes, really, with this stuff. You could either say, it's rigged, that's really unfair, so I'm going to opt out of the game entirely, okay? I'm going to just forget about all of this nonsense, and I'm going to become a prepper, I'm going to live in the mountains, I'm going to have my own water supply, I'm going to have my own grain supply, because there might be there's probably going to be a war soon anyway, right? So I'm going to live underground in a bunker and ignore everyone else, because to hell with all of you, okay? And that is perfectly valid, all right? That's a perfectly valid, and some might even say logical, response to the way the world currently is, right? It makes perfect sense. It's also, let's face it, not a lot of fun, really. You know, I mean, do you really want to live in a bunker in Montana, eating grain? And I was going to talk about the bathroom arrangements, but I won't. But you know where I'm going. You know, do you really want that? Probably not, right? Most of us don't want that. Most of us would actually like to enjoy life as it is advertised, right? We would like to live the Ralph Lauren lifestyle. We would like to live the Abercrombie and Fitch lifestyle, okay? Most of us want to have what it says on the tin, but we feel that we are shut out from that because of the circumstances that currently surround us. So, okay then, so if we are honest with ourselves, we say, well, actually, I do want to have a shot at this because I'm here now and I might as well, then we have to figure out how to do it, okay? And what that's probably going to mean is we're going to have to make some changes in our lives because things are not easy, all right? Life is pretty thankless for the most part. There are people who will be allies to you along the way. You can't trust anybody, but there will be people who are allies to you along the way. But in the end, really, you have to rely on yourself. You know, you have to rely on your own initiative. And the only person who is going to be there for your entire life is you, okay? You are born alone. Well, I guess your mother's there, but you know what I mean. You're born as an individual, and then in the end you die alone, because even if you've got that mythical scene where the whole family's standing around the bed and everyone's crying and whatever, playing sad songs, it's still you, uniquely you on your own, who is undergoing that existential experience, right? And nobody else can do it with you, okay? You can't say to somebody else, oh, well, can you die at the same time so we can experience this together? And even if you did, even if that happened, and of course it does happen sometimes in certain situations, then it's your consciousness that is being extinguished. It's your consciousness that the switch is being turned off, not anybody else's. So you're never really experiencing it with another person. So there is this very solitary aspect to life. There is this very siloed aspect to life where we have to accept the fact that we are alone, okay, against a world that is cruel and uncaring a lot of the time. Not all of the time, but it feels like that a lot of the time, okay? So then you have to think, all right, so what am I going to do about this? Because there are certain things over here that I want, that these people seem to have, that these people seem to be enjoying. And there's me here, and yes, I've got some friends, and yes, I've got some family, but in the end, nobody's going to do it for me, so what do I do? And it seems to me that then it's a question of working back and thinking, all right, well, I want these things, so how am I going to get there? All right, and we always tell clients, think about your archetype, right? Think about your male archetype, the guy that you would most like to be like, whether it's a fictional character or it's somebody you know or it's somebody from online or you know, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Think about, okay, if I could be anybody, I would like to be like this guy, all right? And then what you want to do is think, okay, so firstly, what are the steps that he's taken in order to be like that, in order to bring those, whatever those things are in his life that he's got? What's he done? Okay, can you do some of the same things? And you also want to think, in any given situation that you encounter, you want to think, okay, so what would that guy do in this situation, right? And taking it to a dating example, you're in the bar, you see an attractive woman sitting over the other side of the bar, and you feel nervous, you feel like everybody's watching you, you feel like, oh, she's, you know, probably married and she's going to just shoot me down if I go and speak to her. And then you've got to think, okay, but this guy that I've got in my head, who's my archetype, what would he do in this situation? And probably, if he's a worthy archetype, he would probably go over and start a conversation, right? So do that, okay? Do the thing that the person that you would aspire to be would do, all right? And I've talked in previous videos a lot about the value of mentorship, so I won't go hugely into it here. But obviously that's what we offer. You know, the reason that we do coaching with people, and, you know, whether that's coaching in person or coaching over Zoom or WhatsApp or whatever, is to help with this whole process. But getting somebody to have a look at what you're doing and to advise you on it is invaluable, right? Because how else are you going to know, right? It's very hard to see yourself from the outside. But you have to aspire to not just transformation, but transcendence, okay? Transcendence, personal transcendence in 2026 is non-negotiable. It is essential. There is no choice, all right, if you want to continue playing the game, because other people are either they're either at or have passed the level that you would aspire to be at already, or they haven't, but they're kind of NPCs. They're not really players. They're just other bit characters, okay? If you want the extraordinary things to happen, you have to become extraordinary, and often that is a process of complete self-reinvention, okay? It's not a process of sitting in your room watching YouTube and a few videos and going, oh, that's quite cool, maybe I'll do that one day. Oh, well, anyway, let's get the Cheetos out, okay? No, it's a process of complete self-reinvention, right? And that sounds very onerous. That sounds like a big pain in the arse. Well, maybe not, right? Some people can get this done quite quickly. Other people, it's going to take longer. Fine, but what else are you going to do? The time's going to pass anyway, all right? I always come back to this idea that, yes, life is difficult. Yes, 2026 is a uniquely difficult time in dating. There are, and beyond that, right? There are a lot of huge challenges that people are facing with the economy, with trying to buy a house, with health. I mean, there's just all this stuff going on. Politics, there's all this stuff going on. War. And it feels impenetrable. It feels like there's no way through. And so the option that exists for us, if we choose to take it, is to say, all right, bring it on. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take all of this on, and I'm going to come out victorious on top. Okay, you can do that, right? There are people who have done that. I mean, there are people now who are living the lifestyle that you want to live. Okay, there are people who have the dating life that you want to have. There are people who have the financial life that you want to have. There are people who have the freedom that you want to have. There are people already who have it, so it's not impossible, right? You can't kid yourself. You can say, okay, fine, but it's hard work, so I'm not going to do it. But you can't pretend it's impossible, because clearly it isn't, right? If other people have done it, then you can do it as well. So you need to take some hope from that, I think, and you need to consider that these things are within your grasp, but you need to get that motivation together to pursue them, and then you will require some persistence, some grit. Okay, read the book Grit by Angela Duckworth, very instructive. You will require some grit in order to keep going with the process, even when it's difficult, all right? Again, little plug, that's where mentorship can be very helpful. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this one. Subscribe to the channels if you haven't already. Give me a like. And we've got our course, Approach Accelerator, is open now. And also, we've got live trainings coming up in Rio de Janeiro for Carnival, and also in Barranquilla in Colombia. So, and then various other places throughout the rest of the year. So if you're interested in either of those things, drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. Put your WhatsApp details in there. We can jump on a call. We can discuss further. See you soon. Bye-bye.